Hi, everyone. It's Sergeant Ranjan with Uniform Recruitment Unit, and welcome to another session of AMA. And I have my wonderful colleague from the Northeast, PC Caitlin Good. And in this session today, we're going to be focusing on the Northeast and Northwest, specifically answering any questions that you may have about duration postings, working up in the Northeast or the Northwest. We're going to touch on some of the incentives that you have for some of the detachments that you maybe are interested in going to or being posted at, and certainly any questions that you have about recruitment in relation to any other questions. So please use the chat box to put your questions in there as we wait for people to join. Caitlin, how's it going? I feel like I've seen you in a while. I know we always see each other at major events throughout the province. I think the last time was the auto show, but how are you? It's so nice to see you.
Thanks for having me on, Prash. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing good. Hanging out here in the north with all the snow we have. Currently in Thessalon.
Right?
That's where I am right now. East Algoma Thessalon Detachment. Over the past few days, I've been traveling the Northeast, doing events in Timmins, in Wawa. I've been traveling 17 and the 129 and all over the Northeast. So yeah, again, I just want to thank you for having me on today.
No, amazing. I'm so happy you can join me. So I know the week prior we were doing a lot of the women focused events to celebrate International Women's Day. I know you had a really good event that you hosted and helped organize. So maybe if you want to kind of start off on that, because I do have a bit of a feedback that I want to share from one of the attendees. So maybe if you want to talk about yours, then I'll read what that feedback is afterwards.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, we had a International Women's Day event at the Machine Shop in Sault Ste. Marie. It was hosted by the OPP with various partners from all over the Algoma district. We had fire, police, EMS, we had M&R, we had services, we had Sioux College there, we had different hospitals there. So women from all these different services that came to speak to people that might be interested in a career in emergency services. So it was a great event. I think there was well over 100 people that attended the event, and it was free. So looking forward to hopefully doing it again next year.
Yeah, and I think all of our regions did a really good job of hosting events in their region to promote the whole reason for hosting these events, to promote policing and obviously cater to our female applicants. And I got a feedback from the event that we hosted at HSD attendees. So I'm going to kind of read a blurb of what she had sent in. I want to congratulate you and your team on hosting such an amazing event for International Women's Day. To celebrate and promote women in uniform. The introductory words you shared really set a welcoming and empowering tone, which indeed encouraged me to ask questions from the panel. It was very informative, supportive, and an encouraging session for women and civilians like me who are ready to apply for an OPP position as a provincial constable role. The inspector's speech and introduction was very empowering to women of my age group in the mid-30s. I felt, very open to ask questions and answers at the end with the meet and greet that you had arranged with officers, which gave me a good idea about how shift work looks like for an officer and strategies and supports available to overcome the day-to-day challenges. The presentation and videos, introductions to the various fleet presented live in action, and also having officers present to answers to the questions that we had was a very eye-opening and a reality check. And I felt, I have what it takes to withstand that pressure of this career, and I feel ready to start my application. So, in saying it was a true reflection of what my life will be after the conditional offer of employment to be a full-time uniform member, and I cannot stop dreaming about the position. I feel fortunate to be a part of this amazing experience, and I hope to see you soon with my application submission to further my success in a journey to become a uniformed officer. So that was one of the and I'm sure, Caitlin, you probably got tons of that from speaking to some of the people, but is there anything that kind of comes to your mind in terms of that resonates or you can kind of reflect on from your event?
Yeah, absolutely. I love these women's events that we have because a lot of the time women are afraid to ask those questions about potentially being a female in this profession that in the past historically has been a more male dominated profession. And I think that a lot of females, they want to know everything before they apply for the job. They want to know, can I do this with children? What does it look like when I have a child and I go back to the road? How do you do this as a parent, working shift work? Those kinds of
Yeah.
questions that come out when we do have a female audience. It's really nice to have female officers around to answer those. And a lot of the time, females don't feel comfortable asking those questions in front of males that
Yeah.
for answers to other questions, safe spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're bang on there, and I think we truly did a really, really good job of making sure we had the events available that really catered to the people that were looking for that type of answer. So I see the questions are coming in fast and furious, so we will try to get to most of them. But before we jump into that, the reason that we have Caitlin here is to talk about the Northeast and the Northwest, what it's like in working in those type of areas. Certainly, there's another area that we like to promote when you are considering your selection posting. So maybe we'll just start off with that as we work our way into some of the questions that you were asking about. So, Caitlin, I'll just go over this. I know we're always trying to post promote some of the detachments that so currently, the areas that we're looking to hire, and I think we talked offline about this. I think you did work in some of these. Currently, in the Northwest region, we're looking to promote Sioux Lookout, Kenora, Marathon, and in the Northeast region, we're looking to promote James Bay, Nipissing West, Greenstone, Rainy River, which has Fort Francis, Atakokin, Rainy River, main one, and East Algoma and Elliott Lake. So, if you can kind of touch on like some of the areas that you worked in, some of the detachments, what your experience has been, and maybe kind of give our audience a bit about what it's like to work up there.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little background on myself. If you haven't watched any of these AMAs before, I started down in the Highway Safety Division for 2 years, working the highways down in the Burlington area. And then I took a transfer up to Elliott Lake. So Elliott Lake is part
Mm-hmm.
of the East Algoma cluster. There's 3 detachments in that cluster. So it's Elliott Lake to the northeast. And then down on the 17 corridor, we have Blind River. And then just a little bit further west, about a half an hour west, you've got Thessalon. And that's the detachment I'm currently at right now. I
Mm-hmm.
did do all 3 of these detachments are a 5-year duration, and they are called a cluster because we have one main administrative center and then we have satellite offices. So Elliott Lake would be more of a satellite office, and same with Thessalon. And Blind River is where we have our staff sergeant and inspector that regular report out of those detachments. So you know what? Going from the south to the north at the beginning, I've been up here since 2012. But at the beginning, it was a little different, not having multiple lanes on the
Yeah,
highway,
especially
having
coming from like a highway safety division. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I grew up down in the GTA, and
Yeah.
going from working on the 400 series highways to all of a sudden working on Highway 17, where you've got traffic heading westbound right beside you, and you're heading eastbound, and you're going 90 kilometers an hour the opposite direction. It's totally different. Not as
Yeah.
many chances to pass, things like that. We do get a lot of collisions up here, of course, and conditions are a lot different on the road.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to worry about other drivers on the road, you actually have to worry about animals too. We've got moose, deer. We do have some elk in the area that I'm in right now. So there's all these different animals. We're not just worried about the squirrels running across the road and raccoons down in southern Ontario. We're worried about the bigger animals that can really damage a car and potentially kill someone
Yeah.
if they hit a moose with a smaller car. So it's been an eye opener, that's for sure. We also have bear up here. That was one really cool thing when I first moved up. I remember going to Elliott Lake, and I'd never seen a bear in real life before. So that was like my main thing. I wanted to see a bear, and we kept on getting these moose and bear calls at the behind the hospital. They'd always be by the dumpster or be in the parking lot by the hospital. And the nurses would call in saying, "We've got another bear. Can you guys chase it out?" So I remember going there, and it was like Winnie the Pooh. I'd always miss them. And then finally one day I saw my first bear, and yeah, that was pretty cool. That was an eye opener, but seen many since.
And obviously, yeah, and obviously there's a financial incentive when you do take on a duration posting. For example, if you take a 4-year duration posting, it's a total of $20,000 extra that we compensate you for on top of your salary. 5-year duration posting, it's an incentive that you get. And certainly even the other ones, whether it's a 2-year or a 3-year, certainly there are other financial incentive that comes with it. And one of the questions I guess it just popped up here, Caitlin, does the OPP still have housing for officers in the north? My grandfather lived in one in Haleybury. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what one of the questions that came in. Maybe you can address that.
Yeah. So I'll touch base on the duration first.
Yeah.
Duration posting. So I know you mentioned they're anywhere from 5 to 2 years in total.
Yeah.
You get paid on your anniversary date a certain amount. So that $10,000 within 5 years, that means on your anniversary date, you'll get $2,000 added to your paycheck on that anniversary date, and then every year for 5 years. The 2-year duration, $40,000. So that means on your anniversary date, you get $20,000 the first year, then $20,000 the second year. It's a thank you for going to these more remote locations. And it just kind of helps you out. Things like the necessities like bread, eggs, milk, things like that, maybe a little bit more in these communities. So this just kind of helps you out with that. But on a positive note, those might be more, but housing might be less when you move up north.
Yeah.
So that's something to think of as well. Now to touch base on the housing. So there's certain detachments that do have some government housing that you could live in. It's only if it's available at that time. I know that Armstrong is one of those detachments. Armstrong's a 2-year duration posting, and it's about 2.5 hours north of Thunder Bay. So they do have government housing there when there isn't an officer working, or when there isn't when there's an opening in one of those houses. Normally they will offer it to anyone at the detachment that wants that housing. But if you get posted to a northern duration posting, my suggestion is that you reach out to one of the officers. Just call the detachment, say, "Hey, I've accepted a position to your detachment. I'm just looking for some information on housing. Do you have any government housing available? Do you know of any leads on rental properties?" There's not as many apartments up here as there is in Southern Ontario, so that's something that you need to take into consideration. Somebody might know of a room that you can rent, or a house that's going to be vacant that you can rent when you come up. So you know what, a lot of the time in northern communities, it's word of mouth versus things that are advertised on the internet. And you want to speak to the officers that work in those areas, because they'll know the good places to live and the places you might not want to live because you have somebody you're going to be dealing with living next door.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's a very good point that you made there. And, maybe you can actually address this, because I get this question all the time in terms of, one of the big hesitancy for our candidates to consider the North is, maybe they're used to living in a city environment, and you actually worked in a city environment before you transferred there, right? So can you talk about what work life or the family life, how it is when you transition from like in a city environment, HSD, now you're going up there? Like, how did you manage that, and what can our candidates expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously down when I was in HSD, it was a little different. I was living down in a condo, and I had grocery stores open 24 hours a day down there. You learn to plan ahead when you move north. You learn that things close at 5, 6 o'clock if you're in a smaller community, that the streets are kind of bare at night and everyone's at home doing their own thing, having family dinners or going on a date. So you learn to plan ahead. Those big Costco runs that you want to do, Costco isn't in every community. The closest Costco to me is about 2.5 hours away in Sudbury. But we know when somebody in our community is going to Costco, because they will post it or they will message us, "Hey, I'm going to Costco. Do you need me to pick anything up for you?" So we all work together. We're a team, especially in a detachment too. If somebody's going down south for the weekend and you need something, you can ask them, and normally we'll pick something up for you because you know that things aren't right at your fingertips. But
Yeah.
Crash, Amazon
Yes.
and the internet is a glorious thing. I have Amazon Prime. Things do get delivered up here in a not the day of, not the next day,
Yeah.
but normally
Yeah.
a day or two after that if you do have Amazon Prime. So you know what, you don't need to worry about that. Things you can get things delivered to your house. Some things get delivered to PO boxes,
Yeah.
but the internet has everything.
Yeah.
Costco
Okay.
delivers as well.
And you know what? That's some really good, insightful information because I think a lot of our candidates fear that, all the necessities or the things that they enjoy is not available if you move up there, which is further from the truth based on what you're telling us.
Yeah, absolutely. I see
One of the
something.
other questions. Sorry, go on, Caitlin. I was
I was
just
going to
gonna,
say, I see
you were
something about
gonna
asking
ask.
what a typical call would be like in HSD versus the North.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so a call in HSD. So you've got lots of traffic complaints. You've got your motor vehicle collisions, very common. Debris on the
Yeah,
road. Maybe a pedestrian on the highway. Things like that. Those are some kind of typical calls that you get. Up in the north, you know what? We're knocking on doors. We're going to neighbor disputes. We're going to things like domestics,
hmm,
things that municipal services would be going to. Those are the kinds of things that we would be going to up here in the north. We do have municipal services in the north in the larger communities such as Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, and North Bay. There are municipal services in those areas and some of the other communities around, but the larger communities. So we all work together to police our areas. We back each other up if Sault Ste. Marie needs a canine officer and our OPP canine officer is available that's local, then our canine will go assist them. If they have a call that started in Sault Ste. Marie and started heading down Highway 17 towards Thessalon, we would be setting up and helping out with that call. So we're
yeah,
all working hand in hand with these municipal services, kind of similar to down south. But the thing I want to talk about is the large area we have to cover in the north. So the
right.
northeast and northwest, geographically, these are the largest regions that the OPP covers.
That's
So
right.
you have to
That's
take that into consideration. Our detachment areas um, are huge that we patrol. So if I want to
yeah,
go north, I'm driving probably an hour and a half to get to the end of my detachment area that I cover. If there's a
right,
collision up there, I'm driving an hour and a half to that collision. So calls for service take longer because it takes you longer to get to those calls. Um, the good thing about the north is depending on where you're working, you don't have as many calls waiting for you on the
right.
board. I remember highway safety division, you get
That's
in, it's
nonstop.
rush hour, call to
Yeah,
call to call. You're nonstop collision to
that's
collision,
right.
finish the report, take everyone's information, move on to the next one.
Yeah,
Sometimes when we come in here, we'll do our shift briefing, which we do over Teams now because we're a cluster. We'll do our shift briefing and then we can go out and just patrol the streets. Maybe there's a community event, go to that. Sometimes there's an assignment that you have to do. Sometimes there are some calls that you need to go relieve the guys and girls that were on night shift. You need to go relieve them at that call for service because there's only two
right,
or three of them working at a detachment. Those those are that's very common here. So the calls, depending on, of course, where you're working and just the time of the year, sometimes there's not as many as there would be in Southern Ontario. So you can take your time at the calls and kind of get involved in your community more.
right. No, perfectly answered there, Kaylin. One of the other questions, we'll just jump real quick to a question about the auxiliary program. So currently, we are accepting applications for the auxiliary program. If you go on opp.ca/careers, you would see our auxiliary application portal. You can search it. It's an unpaid position since it's a volunteer position, but you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You have to have a high school diploma, and you have to have a G license with no more than 6 demerit points. Also, no criminal record. unless you've gotten a pardon for it. To be able to pass the interview, medical, psychological, and security and financial checks before you can be hired into that position. So when you go through the position, certainly after you're hired, you are deployed to one of the detachments that you would pick through the process, where you would pick one of the six or ones that you are interested in being posted to, and certainly we would post you at one of those. Anything to add from your experience, Caitlin, working with auxiliaries? Certainly, we work with auxiliaries a lot as the recruitment unit because they come to a lot of our events. But anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Auxiliary program is a great way to get involved. Whether you're in college, whether you're in university, not sure if policing's for you and you want to just try it out, it's a great opportunity to go and help out at events that we're going to. You can do some ride-alongs. You can make some good, get some good references and meet officers and kind of learn what it's like on the road. So it's a great way to kind of get your feet wet too, if that's something you're looking for. But some people just want to do
Yeah.
it because they want to help out in their community. They want to keep their full-time job, and that's totally fine. I know in the north we need auxiliary members. We don't have enough here. I know Sault Ste. Marie is currently trying to build their auxiliary unit. They just had two auxiliary members join, so they're trying to build their unit. So if you're anywhere in the north, reach out to your local detachment, see if they have a unit. And
Mhm.
absolutely, if you're thinking about policing or you just want to get involved in your community, come join us. We'd love to have you help out.
Absolutely. And when you do become an auxiliary member, your requirement is 16 hours a month, 10 hours where you can do patrol with the uniform member, and 6 hours a month that you would do for training. And if you're looking at pursuing the uniform career, the constable position, this is a great stepping stone because you truly do get the exposure into what the OPP as an organization is. You get to see what officers do on a day-to-day basis. You get exposure to it. You see what sort of paperwork officers do, what sort of calls that they're attending, because you'd be able to go with them, and you also get to take part in community events. Whether it's through the recruitment side or the community engagement side at the detachment level, you really do get exposed to a lot of variety of things, which will kind of help you make up your mind on whether this career is for you or not. So certainly, like Caitlin said, and obviously promoting the north, certainly you can pick one of those detachments if you're considering those areas to be an auxiliary at. Okay. No, that's a great point, Caitlin. Thank you for that. A comment here: or the OPP has always treated me fairly. I know you guys are good. Thank you for all the hard work and much blessings. If there's any way I can help, the OPS or the PC services or EMS is important, including women, certainly. So thank you for that comment. I think I saw a question here about shuttle run. Certainly, Caitlin and I were both shuttle run appraisers, and we're always traveling across the province hosting shuttle run. So certainly, if you do see us at the next one that we're hosting, please come on by. Whether you're participating in it or you want to engage with us to come see us, certainly come and ask your questions. Usually, all of our events are sold out online. You can sign up through Eventbrite. And again, we're hosting multiple sessions. So even if you can't attend one, just look for the next one that we're hosting. But the question here was about I have my shuttle run due tomorrow, but I feel very sick. What should I do? Please email the coordinator on the email that we have on file there, so we can update your file and give you an extension, so that way you can submit your shuttle run when you are feeling much better. Anything to add on the shuttle run portion of it, Caitlin? I know you just hosted one, I think, a few days ago, or last.
Yeah, I just did one up in Timmins this past Friday in the morning there at Northern College, and then I had one on Monday night in Wawa. So the northern shuttle runs that we have, if for whatever reason the Eventbrite it says it's sold out, show up. We want you to show up.
Yep.
We know that you want to get involved, and going to these events is a great way to speak to the recruiters that are going to be there, maybe other applicants that are currently going through the process, and you guys can share tips, tricks, things like that about going through the process
Yeah.
and what your experiences are. So they're very valuable in the north. Just in the north, if there are events that you want to go to and they say they're sold out, they shut them down a few days beforehand. Show up, we'll come and talk to you and get you all the papers that you need to fill out. So don't worry about that. Prash, I see.
Another
Do
question.
you see this
Yes.
question here about work-life balance?
Yes. Go ahead. You want to take that one? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would
Absolutely.
love to. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
Um, in Southern Ontario, I feel like it's a rat race. I go back and visit, and you're stuck in traffic. You're going to work. You're stuck in traffic going home from work. Then you're rushing to go wherever you need to go. Up in
Yeah.
the north, it's not really like that. You decide if you want to drive an hour and a half, but you know that hour and a half is going to be an hour and a half with cruise control, unless there's a lot of snow. Then you're obviously going
Right.
to slow down. Road conditions, we have to be very cognizant of those in the north, but I mean, you're not stuck in traffic all the time. That's the great thing about it. Work-life balance, family life. It's great up here, smaller communities, depending on where you are. Um, I go to work and I go home, and sometimes work follows me home. This is just the joys of living in a small community, and I'm going to be blatantly open with you and honest with you that I could be at home and all of a sudden I start getting messages from somebody that I know saying, hey, this person did this, and I should I report this to the police? I'm a police officer when I'm on duty and off duty. So I do answer them and suggest they call police, of course. I've had property dropped off at my house that they found on the road that somebody must have lost, and they wanted me to deal with it right away, and I'm off duty. So this is the kind of stuff that you deal with in small communities. I love it. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I like being involved in my community, and I like people to know that I am here to help. So to me, that's not a big deal. But if you want to, wherever you purchase a house, especially if it's in a small community, people will know that's the new police officer's house. People will know who you are, who your husband is, or they will know who your children are, and they'll say that's the new police officer's spouse and children. So these are just things that happen when you live in the north and police in the north, especially in small communities.
No. Well answered there, Kaylin. And maybe you can even add, talk to this one. So the question is about if someone were to start their career with the OPP in the north, would that impact their opportunities to move into other roles or growth in the future? And I don't know if they're asking from a perspective of positive impact or negative, but maybe you can speak to both of it. You know what I mean, in terms of opportunities they would have to move into other
Yeah.
roles or growth, in their career.
Yeah, so detachments in the north tend to be smaller. We have less officers that are working at these detachments. You will have larger detachments like Sault Ste. Marie. It's more of a highway detachment. They do the outlying areas, police the outlying areas from Sault Ste. Marie in smaller communities, but um, there's plenty of opportunities depending on where you want to go. The good thing about the OPP is that we police the whole province. If there's
Yeah.
opportunities anywhere in the province, they are posted online for all OPP officers to see, and anyone can apply for them as long as you meet the minimum requirements. So that's not going to mean that you move north and you can't go back down south. Absolutely, you can. If obviously if it's a promotion, then you can get out of a duration posting. But if you are in a duration posting, you've signed a contract saying that you're going to stay there for 2 to 5 years, whatever duration it is that you're in.
Yeah.
Um, there are tons of courses available for northern officers. We need people that can drive ATVs, people that can operate snowmobiles, people that can operate boats. We have thousands of lakes and rivers and trails, and we police all of them. So we need people that are able to have these skills and take these courses. So these are the kinds of things that are available to officers when they come north. Whereas down south, you might not have as many opportunities to get those kinds of courses because there's so many officers at your detachment.
Right. Caitlin, is it fair to say, like, if you're working in the north, when you're out there doing your job, like you would probably be using the snowmobiles, ATVs, boats to get around, and during the whole shift of your patrol, that's probably your primary vehicle. Like, is it fair to say that could be exactly what happens because of just the area that you work in?
Yeah, you know what? It just depends. It's depends on management where you're working. It depends on how many officers are working the road. Obviously, calls for service are number one. But on a regular basis
Yeah.
in the summer, East Algoma is located on the north shore of Lake Huron. So on a regular basis, we do get marine calls where there's a vehicle or there's a boat that the motors broke down and they need some assistance getting in. So obviously there's the Coast Guard, things like that. But for us, we're the ones that are going to answer those calls for service normally first and get there first because we're closer. So we would go out there and assist them with our boat and we would bring them back in. But there's only certain officers that have that marine training. So if you have, if you're confident in your boating ability and you already have kind of a background in it, there's tons of
Yeah.
opportunities when you move north. Come and let your sergeant know that that's something you're interested in. And when a course like that comes up, if there's no one else, even
Yeah.
if you're a new person, if there's no one else that wants to take it, they might assign you that training. So there is tons of opportunities, and not only those fun patrol opportunities, but also things like being a breath tech, being DRE, so a drug recognition officer. There's tons of opportunities to get those kinds of courses when you move north, because again, we have less officers. We patrol such a large area that we need a lot of officers to have this training to be able to do our job effectively. And we need officers that can come to the scene and be that expert and deal with
Right.
those situations as they arise.
Yeah, I think Caitlin, you touched on that too. So like a lot of the training that you'll get, you'll be able to apply for courses, whether it's the ATV course, the snowmobile course, the boating course. There's so many courses like that. Even if you don't have any experience in it, we will send you to get the experience. So when you go to the detachment that offers those positions or available positions there, you can get the training, then you can actually go and utilize it on it. So that's which is great. Question here, Caitlin. I'm 5'5" roughly in height. Will that play a considerable role in my application process or the general suitability for a job as a provincial constable? So maybe I'll let you tackle that one.
I'm 5'6". Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm
As
five
long as
five
we can
too,
do
so
the
I'm not
job.
I'm not that tall.
It's all about your communication skills. This job is problem
Right.
solving and communication. If you are
Yeah.
good at communicating with people, if you've got some emotional intelligence and kind of know and can read people well, and if you can
Yeah.
solve problems, you'll do fine. It doesn't matter your size. We have lots of tools on our belt. So that's
Yeah.
our use
No,
of force that we have on our belts. So we can use those if needed. Obviously, if things have escalated and you need to use those tools, you can. So height does not matter. It just obviously you've got to meet the physical fitness standards. Those are the minimum.
yeah, I totally agree with Caitlin there. Yeah, your ability to communicate is key. Your ability to engage with people, talk to people, be able to think on your feet, react, problem solve. If you're good at that, you will be amazing in this career. So certainly, your physical limitations, whether your height, weight, those things don't matter, right? These are the things, the skill sets that we're looking for because that is what you bring to the community that you'll serve. Another question here about how long does it typically take for you to hear back from us after you submit the applications, knowing how you move forward, where you are in the process. So, one in your portal, at the top of your portal, you actually have a status bar that'll show you where your application is as it's moving through the process. But obviously, on our end, what happens after you submit the application, it's being assessed. And depending on how many people are ahead of you in the queue, you just have to wait patiently. And I think I've heard it from many of our applicants. We are much faster or very, very quick in terms of how we process applicants compared to many other services. I think we work really, really well as a fine oiled machine. So if you haven't heard back, be patient. But if it's been more than 2 weeks, I say just email us. Just send us an email, just asking for an update. If there was something, because I also find sometimes we respond back to you with things that in your portal, but either the response has gone into your junk mail or you haven't seen it. So if that's the case, certainly that would delay the process. So just make sure you're looking at the portal, looking at your email, just to see what updates are coming through. Anything to add on that, Kaylin?
Yep. No, that's good. I know the new thing now is that when an application is coming in, we're going to ask you right away to send in your shuttle run video or attend one of our events and submit a certificate with it. So just be cognizant of it. We've changed our process a little bit. It used to be
Yeah.
that we would send you all the information first, look through your files, and then ask you for it. But right away, we're going to ask you. So the minute you apply, get ready to hit that level 7 on the shuttle run.
Caitlin, maybe you can address this. This is a very straightforward one. One of the, I guess, responses here, I hesitate about going up north is the lack of jiu-jitsu gyms up there. Otherwise, everything sounds amazing. I would love to be a part of it. What do you, any way you can address that, or is this person right?
You know what? It depends on where you want to go. Do your research. I tell
Yeah,
everyone that every community offers different things.
yeah,
My kids play competitive hockey where I live. I have to travel an hour for them to play competitive hockey. And that's just the joys of where I live. But I would never change it because of the fact that we live on a beautiful lake. That's
yeah.
not something that I would be getting in Southern Ontario and be able to afford as
No,
a
you
police
won't.
officer.
No, you won't.
So there's gives and takes. I know jujitsu, there are places in Sault Ste. Marie, there's places in Sudbury. I'm sure there's places up like Timmins Way for sure. I know that South Porcupine, which is has Timmins and it has Iroquois Falls. Those are the two detachments in that cluster. I know that there is
Yeah,
some stuff up there too. So just research the communities that you're thinking about. Um, and you can always reach out to the detachments too,
yeah. I was gonna
and
say,
ask
yeah,
some questions to officers that are working the road up there. And again, you know what? We do have tons of events all over the province. And when you do start applying and you are in the application process, you will be sent a link to attend a Northeast and Northwest region information session, which we do host for people that are in the process with the OPP. And we get officers from all over the Northeast and Northwest attend and answer questions about those areas, specific answers like government housing questions, houses, or
hmm,
questions about, hey, is there a Starbucks in this community? Think like it could be anything. It's like, hey, is there a karate gym up there? Hey, is there anyone that does MMA fighting? Is there any
yeah,
strongman gyms in the area? Those are kinds of questions that people ask. And you know what? I get it. We want to plan ahead of time. You want to know about these communities before you move up there
yeah,
and
yeah,
commit to what a 2 to 5 years living up there. But
yeah.
great opportunities, tons of opportunities when you move north for sure.
No, I think yeah, you exactly it on the head there. I think definitely do your research, especially there if there are specific things. I know one of the biggest questions I also get asked is, places of worship. Do they have places of worship? So please do the research. But like Caitlin said, just reach out to the detachment because they would be a wealth of resource and knowledge because these are the same questions that they would have looked into or researched and they would have found when they got there all the things that they've learned from it. So please, I think many of our officers, when you call the detachment and you tell them, hey, look, I'm potentially considering applying to your detachment, I just had a few questions. And usually most of our sergeants or managers would be happy to set you up with somebody that works there just so you can share information and understand. And, for me, I need my Tims, Caitlin. I need my Tims. I'm spoiled here in Southern Ontario for Tims. So, if we got Tims wherever we go, then we're good to go. So, yeah, great question on that. So, Caitlin, another question here. What surprised you the most when you first worked in your current northern region coming from an HSD environment?
Oh, that's a good one. I had never knocked on a door when I came
Yeah,
up north.
that's right.
So going
HSD,
from
we don't
highway
do that.
safety division, I was like, my workspace was my cruiser. You have a
Yeah.
collision, we meet you in a parking lot, we take your statement, you're in the back of the cruiser, I'm taking a statement from you there. Um, so that was very different for me. I'll never forget one of my first shifts up in Elliott Lake. I was very lucky when I moved up because I felt like I needed a coach officer because it's a different job when you go from HSD up to a general law enforcement detachment. You're doing totally different things. I had no experience doing any of these calls for service, but I'll never forget. I went to a call, and I think there was concern that somebody might have passed away inside and nobody could get a hold of the person, so we knew we needed to break down the door of the house, and I'd never done that before. So that was kind
Hmm.
of an exciting experience, and the guys were cheering me on. Few kicks, finally got in. But yeah, it was an eye opener for sure. That was exciting. But yeah, the one thing about going from specifically working HSD to general duties detachment was I the calls for service were totally different. I felt out of my element. I felt like I needed a coach officer, and I was very lucky when I moved up. The guys that were on my shift were very helpful, showed me around, told me who everyone was, and helped me out with all the calls. And of course, I jumped on every single collision that came in because I knew what to do for that call for service.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, it is a different experience, I guess, in terms of what we do in HSD, because I work in an HSD environment and I was an HSD officer, but certainly I did work in a general duties environment, East Region, when I first got hired, so I can kind of see both realms and how they differ. The question here: how does credit check, I guess, your credit rating and your eyesight play a role? I'm working on getting my credit score to be better. Is that a deal breaker? And I also wear contacts. So I'll address this. So if you go on our website, opp.ca/careers, you'll see there's a area of frequently asked questions page. In the frequently asked questions section, we actually break down what the requirements are for your vision and hearing standards. So if you are concerned about your vision, what I would really encourage you to do is, print off the vision standards, go see an optometrist, just to make sure that you meet the parameters based on how you currently are in terms of your vision. Because when you go through our process and you make it all the way to the end, when you get to the medical stage, that's where we assess your vision and hearing. So if it'll be a shame for you to go through, successfully pass every single stage, and we're waiting to give you the job offer, but then your medical comes back where you don't meet the standards for the vision. So if that is something that you're concerned about, go see your optometrist. I'm sure they would be able to assess it and give you different options that you can consider based on what your situation is, to meet it, or if you don't meet it, what else you can do. In terms of your credit score, certainly that's something that we also assess as you go through the hiring process, at the interview and at the background stage. I'm not going to tell you that you need to have this credit score to be a competitive candidate, because we assess you on based on multiple parameters. So I would say work to make your, I guess, financial history better by paying off your bills, being responsible for the actions you take when it comes to your financial history, and that will set you on a path, in a positive path, to make sure that you're successful in the process. Anything to add, Caitlin, on that?
Yep. No, that's good.
Perfect. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. Appreciate all the love here. Question. I guess Marty says that their daughter is posted at Pickle Lake. So that's again one of our northern postings, and I've heard a lot of one of our recruiters actually was posted in Pickle Lake prior to joining Ottawa. Then obviously currently in recruitment. So that's a great location here. Question here. I'm applying in April, and I have a gaming channel. Is that something I should deactivate? Are officers allowed to have channels like gaming? Do you want to take this to Kaylin?
Well,
Excuse me.
we're gonna ask you about this gaming channel, of
Yeah.
course. We're gonna ask you about all of your online, um,
Yes.
any pages that you have, any emails, all that kind of stuff. We want to know about all this, all these YouTube channels, and anything that you do have. I mean, as long as it's a positive thing. I know some people in the past have had like online training videos that they posted, things like that. I I don't think there's an issue as long as it's positive, nothing negative. But we will be looking at it, so just be cognizant of that. Anything that you have online, we will find out about. Our securities unit will do a thorough search of you from past, present day, so we will know. So don't hide anything. I think that's the main thing. You follow all of our values, our mission, our motto. As long as you are respectful, and everything falls underneath what the OPP stands for, then there shouldn't be any issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Kaylin said, when you go through our prior to the interview, we actually send you paperwork where you would be listing all online, uh, emails or websites or domains, area that you have a presence in. We ask you to disclose that, because certainly we look at all of it as you go through our. We'll send you more information on it. Another question here, and again, me and Caitlin will probably have various answers based on our experience so far. How does policing test a person's character the most, and how do you know if you're for this career before? Caitlin, you want to start with this one? I'll give
Yeah, I'm
my
just
thoughts
trying to find this
afterwards.
question here. Okay.
I think it
Um,
was look
you know
after.
what? I think that you don't really know going into it if this is really for you. I know for me, I didn't go to school to be a police officer. I went to school to be a teacher. Um,
Yeah.
so I truly didn't know if I was going to do well at this career. But you know what? As long as you do your best, you try hard. Um, you are always willing to learn, you'll do fine. You communicate, you never lie. Integrity is key throughout the interview process, throughout policing, everything. Never lie to anyone because if you do, you're going to run into lots of problems. So I think that you really don't know until you start and then you figure out if it's for you or not. I know that I don't know if I was truly built for it, but I enjoy doing it. And of course, I sleep good at night knowing that this is the career that I did pick.
Yeah. And yeah, great answer there, Kaylin. And I think I would say, if you're truly considering this profession, but you don't know how it would be, the only way to find out is for you to truly enter it and go test it out for yourself. And maybe there are things that you can do to see how it is. And for example, the auxiliary program is a great way for you to understand what this career is all about, because the auxiliary program, you can still do what you're currently doing, whether you're in school or whether you have auxiliary program gives you an opportunity to kind of engage in this profession, see what it's all about. You get to walk in the shoes of officers by shadowing them, right? So you can volunteer, do that as a way. But even so, the only way you'll know whether this is the profession for you is to truly go out and go for it, go through the process, get hired, go through training, hit the road running, and then essentially see what it's about. And then within the first few years, you're going to know if you're built for this or not. And certainly, I had my hesitancies initially when I was considering this profession, policing. Certainly, like Caitlin, I want to be either the teacher or a police officer. But I can honestly tell you, I would not change it. I'm going into my 13th year now, and I truly enjoy it. I enjoy the role that I currently get to do, working with amazing people like Caitlin, and the things that we do to hire the next, wave of officers for the future, to lead the OPP forward. So I say, yeah, just give it a shot. You got to just give it a shot and see what it's about. And I think you would surprise yourself. So yeah, great question there. Question here, Kaylin. What should applicants know about living and working in a smaller or remote community? What can they expect? What do you think?
I think I already touched on that a little bit about you are going to be a police officer on duty and off duty, and everyone
Right.
knows you're a police officer. Whereas in Southern Ontario, when I was working in HSD, I would go to a restaurant and people weren't staring at me. Nobody knew I was a police officer. I would go to my kids' school. The only people like if I went into a school, people wouldn't really know who I was or know that I was a police officer, right? Whereas up in the north, everyone knows that's so and so's mom, and they're a police officer, and everyone knows what's going on, what you're doing. If you're speeding off duty in your own personal car, they know that that's the police officer speeding in their personal car. So you have to be cognizant of these things, and that's just small town living. Um, One thing that I just wanted to touch on. So small town policing also, I already touched on talking about how we have less officers working.
Mm-hmm.
In Southern Ontario, working in HSD, if there was a call for service and we needed backup, our backup would be there very fast.
Right. Right. Right.
And I'm being open and honest about this. The
Yeah.
OPP, it's closest to the call. That's going to be the person that's going to that call for service. And then if there's a municipal service down south, of course, they're going to come and assist if we ask them for assistance. And a lot of the time, few minutes, somebody will be there. In the north, you might have two people working in your area. So you've got to, as we call it, play smart and police smart and know where your partner is at all times and kind of stay together because you never know when something's going to go down or when something's going to go sour. You also will need to know where the other officers are in other locations. So the closest detachment to Thessalon would be Blind River, just over 30 minutes away from Thessalon. So if I'm working night shift, there's two people working in Thessalon, I would know where my Blind River officers are. And if there's a call for service, it's hot, I would say, hey, can the
Yeah.
Blind River officers start heading this way? So that's something you need to be cognizant of when you do come north. There isn't as many officers, but you know what? The ones that you do have, they are like your family. It's way different than
Yeah.
Southern Ontario, I find.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, good response there, Caitlin. And we got about 10 minutes left, so we'll try to get to as many within the 10 minutes. And we apologize if we can't get to all of it. One of the questions that came up: why did you choose the OPP, Caitlin? And I'll share mine after. Why the OPP? Why not the other services? Or maybe touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that the OPP polices the whole province. So when I was applying to a police service, I was actually at the time going to school in Sudbury at Laurentian University. And for me, it just made sense. That's kind of, I wanted to stay north, didn't know where I would be posted. And of course, got posted down in HSD in Burlington. But I knew that I had the opportunity to move around the province wherever my partner got a job. So that was a great benefit. You don't have to quit your job and find a new job. If your partner gets a job somewhere else, you're able to actually transfer. And a lot of the time, it's a paid transfer with assistance from a relocation unit that will help with moving your items from your house to the new location. Will help with things like lawyer fees. There's all different things that they help with. So for me, it just made sense. I have family all over the province, and if something was to happen to one of them, I'd be able to pick up and transfer, and that to me is a big deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the same thing. I think when I did my research on the policing services and the service that I want to work for, I always naturally found myself always coming back to the OPP for various reasons. And sometimes you don't know what the organization's all about till you start working there. And for me, that I found in terms of opportunities for growth, learning, um, by bar none, I think OPP is just heads above the rest, in my personal opinion. I think it's just even if you have different things that you want to pursue, whether it's the location that you want to work in or the opportunity, you have the flexibility throughout the whole province to do that. And I think that's such a huge plus point that we offer. A few more questions here. For the local focus interview, we won't be able to get too much into it, but I'll give you a quick rundown. Our local focus is interview is a one-on-one interview, just like the one that what you're seeing here. It's a virtual interview that we will do, and you'll be interviewed by someone like myself or Caitlin. And it could be any of our recruiters across the province, and we will focus on the 10 areas of assessment. So please go on our website, look at the 10 areas. It's a pie chart that you'll see, and that is what we are going to be focusing on as you go through the application, the interview. Certainly, these are the areas that we would look at you and assess you on to see how competitive you are. And certainly, if you look at our Reach video series on YouTube, we break it down specifically what they are so you get a better understanding for it. Okay, so please go on YouTube and look up Reach OPP Reach videos series, and you'll know exactly what that is. Okay. Um, a few last ones here that I'm going to try to get in before we go, and before we wrap up. Actually, a few events coming up for any of you that are attending the NHL game in Ottawa tomorrow evening. OPP will be there. Our recruiters from East Region will be hosting that event. So please do come on by our booth. We will be set up outside. Look forward to seeing or meeting many of you there. And certainly the next week in the GTA, I will be there with our GTA recruiters for the Blue Line Career Expo. So look forward to seeing many of you there. And just like that, April is amongst us next week. And then now we switch gears for all the events that we're hosting and preparing for. So if you're ever in the area, whether it's a shuttle run that you see online or any sort of private event or recruitment events, please come on by if you're able to. We love engaging with our potential candidates, and any questions that you have about that one piece of information that you're looking for to give you the insight which will eventually help you make that call to submit that application. That's the name of the game for us. Okay, so hopefully we will look forward to seeing many of you there. Again, a question about being a dispatcher, which me and Caitlin clearly are not, but maybe we'll try our best to address it, because as road officers and even what we do now, we always do contact with our dispatchers. Is being a dispatcher for the OPP a good to use for life experience to switch to uniform officers? Actually, I can answer that too, but Caitlin, I'll let you have the first shot at that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have officers. I've worked with one in East
Yeah.
Ogoma who was amazing to work with. Just having the confidence, first of all, in the radio, knowing that all the 10
Yeah.
codes, knowing the kinds of calls for service, what the officer needs to do next, what the dispatcher would have to do, and knowing how you would support an officer. You kind of already have that background, and it really, really would help you as a police officer for sure, and would just make you more confident when you're going through the Ontario Police College, the Provincial Police Academy, and then starting on the road because you're confident dealing with people and talking to people already.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hire a lot of people that are dispatchers that eventually do transition over to policing because, again, when they're in that dispatching role or the call taking role, certainly they get to see what this line or the work life balance is, what this work is. And I think they truly do get motivated to take the next step, which is to eventually transition over to be an officer. So certainly it's a great stepping stone if you want to start there on the civilian side and then eventually consider transitioning over, absolutely. Or if you end up just loving that role as a dispatcher, then that's great. You still work for us, you still help our officers, and again, you're our eyes on the road, and before we get to a call, we are relying on you as the dispatcher to give us the information, give us what's going on, so as we're walking into the call, we're as prepared as possible to deal with what's ahead. So certainly that's a great role. Please go on to our civilian hiring positions, or so the sorry, the postings, so that way you know what the requirements for the positions are, so that way you can submit the application and go for it. Okay. Maybe we can take one more question, but before that, any parting thoughts, Caitlin, as we wrap up our AMA for today, or anything that you want to promote in terms of your region coming up?
Yeah, for sure. We do have shuttle runs that are going to be coming up in Sudbury. We have them monthly in Sudbury. If you'd like a chance to go and try the shuttle run out, I know that a lot of the time the school does have the prep stuff set up there if you want to try that out too. But it's a great opportunity to come speak to recruiters, and to try out that shuttle run. I know a lot of people like to do it in person, so just gives you an opportunity in the Northeast to go and attend an event. And hey, if you're from Southern Ontario, we regularly have people that drive from the South up to the North to do our shuttle runs because maybe the date works better for them, or they can't get into a shuttle run that's happening in the GTA. So you know what? Come on up, check Sudbury out. And I believe it's May 4th is the next one there at Cambrian College.
Perfect. So in saying that, I know there was a question earlier when our next class is. So our previous class started on March 1st. That's when they attended the OPP orientation. So the next class, we're in the process of putting the class together. So people are getting their job offers as we fill the class. And the next class will be obviously finalized in May for them to start shortly thereafter. So if you're in the process, you're in the final stages, and you're just waiting for that call, be patient. Positive thoughts, right? You want to make sure you're putting the positive vibes out there. When your file gets to the end stage and you've finished everything, but there's still work that we need to do to process for a potential job offer. So I would say be patient. If we have any questions, certainly we'll reach out to you. But if you do want an update, certainly email us, and certainly we'll let you know if there's anything to share. But like I said, you have to manifest that thought that that is your spot that you're going into, and certainly we will see you there. Okay, so on behalf of my good partner here, Caitlin, and myself, thank you for joining us for another session of the AMA, and we either look forward to seeing you in person or certainly